We're coming to you live from our studios at Kokomlemle here in Accra, and also live on your digital TV, DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. The details now. A group of people believed to be members of a secessionist group attacked the State Transport Corporation in Ho at about midnight, burning down one of its buses. This is about 3 days after a group attacked a police station, wounding the district commander, taking weapons. They also blocked roads in parts of the Eastern and Volta regions, demanding separation of the former Western Togoland area from Ghana. Friday's act was widely condemned, with some security experts arguing the incident was an intelligence failure on government's part. Government disagreed. Some arrests were made, and we are told there's still a manhunt for persons who took part in the incident. Now, the discussions on Friday's revolt were barely, ended. Then, this latest attack. A driver at the STC Yard who says he was assaulted spoke to us.
I was sleeping in the bus when I heard a gunshot. The back window of the bus got broken. I woke up to check what was happening, then I heard another gunshot. Just when I stepped out of the bus to check, it caught fire. Suddenly, someone pointed a gun to my head and asked that I lie down. I knelt down and raised my hands, begging them not to kill me. I saw 2 men, but I think they were more than that. They went to the security man and demanded for the keys. Then they moved behind the yard. Then I fled.
So you heard him mention a security man in his narrative. Well, that security man also spoke to us, and here's what he witnessed and experienced.
Because
it was around 2:15 a.m. when we saw a group of men enter the yard. It was dark, so I couldn't see their faces. I asked them what was happening. They said I should wake up and lie on the ground. I begged them. They said I should lie down with my face on the ground and not speak. I heard them break a window of the bus. Then suddenly, the bus caught fire. When I realized they had left, I ran from the yard to report to the police.
Let's cross over live to Ho now. Fred Kwame Asare. He joins us. He's been on the beat for us. Fred, you've been speaking to some residents. What have they been telling you?
I spoke to one resident who happened to have witnessed what actually happened. Even though he didn't step out, he gave me a narrative of what happened last night or this dawn. He mentioned that the people started mobilizing at about 12 midnight there. About 4 or 3 of them gathered at the back of the STC Yard. There's an access road through the back of the STC Yard which joins Angolokoji, a suburb of Ho, and then leads to the whole central market. So he mentioned that about 3 of them came there, and then they were sitting there chatting. His neighbor asked them why they were here and that they should leave, but they refused to leave. So he left them and then went back indoors. As time went on, the numbers increased to about 5 or 6. They were there conversing, while one was at the tail end of the yard. So he mentioned that he saw that he would walk into their house, do some calls, and then get back to where he was sitting and then sit and wait for a while. So at about 2 a.m., all 6 of them jumped into the yard through the backyard. So they accessed the yard through the backyard. You know, the walls here or the fence here is not really tall, so they were able to jump to access the yard. So when they entered the yard, he started hearing gunshots. According to him, the guns were very huge to the extent that their buildings were shaking, so he could not step out of his room.
All right.
However, he had...
Fred, I'll have you hold on for now with that particular narrative and quickly take a statement from the Ghana Police Service. I'll come back to get more information from you. So the Ghana Police Service has released a statement and refers to this as an arson at Ho STC Yard. Police is investigating the allegation that about 2 a.m. today, 4 armed men stormed Ho STC Yard, demanding the keys to all vehicles parked and set 2 of the minibuses ablaze when the drivers did not produce the keys. The arrival of police and fire service personnel saved the situation. Preliminary investigation shows that there were 11 vehicles parked at the time of the incident. 1 bus was completely burnt and the other slightly burnt. A flag of the group, which calls itself Western Togoland, was found at the scene. Police urged the public to remain calm while volunteering information to police and security services. And this leads me to my next question, Fred. The police say they found a flag. You were told by those who worked there that the flag was there, but when you got to the premises, you could no longer find it. We understand it's with the police service. But what else did the workers notice about these persons which make them believe that they are part of a secessionist group?
Well, the workers or the security officers and then the drivers here were not able to speak or identify the people. They mentioned that when the incident happened like that, they were terrified. So they're not even able to see their faces. But then one of the security officers I spoke to mentioned that he saw one of them was thick tall. He was not, the security officer who gave me this narrative, he was not attacked. He was sleeping elsewhere before the incident was going on. So he was able to have a full glare or view of the incident. He mentioned that he saw one of the guys in in shorts and a bit built, but then he's not muzzled. And that he was the only one who was attacking the driver while the others engaged in the exercise. But then the residents told me that yes, when the people came to see, they realized that they were in uniforms with inscriptions of Western Togoland. Okay.
We'll leave you on this beat, Fred Kwame Asare, as you gather more information. We've been joined by the MCE for Ho, who is Prosper P. Bansa, and also security expert Colonel Festus Abuaje, retired. And I'll have the two of them. First, let me speak to Mr. Prosper P. Bansa, who is MCE for Ho. Thank you for joining the program, sir. What has been done with regards to tracking down the suspects in this case?
Oh, thank you very much. The NISEC is meeting this afternoon, and we'll strategize. Hello?
Hello, I'm listening to you. You're meeting in the afternoon?
Yes. Right now, around 10:30, we are meeting as Regional Security Council. I am a member of that committee also, and I am the chairman of the NISEC. So after the meeting, we'll move to the Municipal Security Council meeting.
On Friday, when this happened, was there any meeting where you put on alert? Were you told to expect something like this? What was the general plan after Friday?
Yes. After Friday, we met and took a decision. We identified some strategic points and tasked the military and the police and all security. Even the prisons was involved, and all other security agencies were involved. So we strategized. We realized that the earmarked certain positions like the big markets and some private strategic positions. So we went around this installment and warn them or educate them that they should be alert. We don't have men to put at all these places, so we we advise that they should beef up their security and.
But Mr. P. Bansa, just allow me here. This has taken a dimension which, even for the police service, when we called the PRO in Ho, he told us to reach Accra and reach his bosses in Accra, because this has taken a bigger dimension. So I'm wondering why you would want to leave the security to such areas to those who manage it themselves. Can't you ask for reinforcement for Accra, for example?
Oh, that one. In fact, the people are involved in manning these places. So we went round and gave them private numbers to call whenever they suspect there is an intruder. So we went around these private facilities where we think are vantage points to target. That is what we have done.
All right, I appreciate your time this morning. Hopefully after your meeting, we'll be able to speak to you. Let me come to you, Colonel Festus Obwaje, retired. Let's start off with the bits we just heard from the MC for the area. They've given numbers to places they suspect may be attacked, and have told the persons, call us if you see any intruder. But let's just use what happened at the STC Yard as a case study. Is that proactive enough? By the time you're called, whatever these people want to do, they may have already done it, right?
Well, that's one challenge that the security agencies are going to face. I said last week that these groups are very well organized. They switched on, and it looks like they built in what we call counterintelligence.
Hello, do we have Colonel Festus Obwaje on? Well, too bad. We seem to have a challenge with his line there, but we're just taking his reactions to the submission by the whole MCE on what has been done since the first series, if I may put it, of revolt or protests by these persons believed to be part of a secessionist group. We are still trying to establish a good line with Colonel Festus Obwaje. But let me just tell you what's been happening today. And we are getting some specifics from the Ghana Police Service that about 2 a.m. this morning, persons believed to be part of a secessionist group attacked the bus terminal of the STC in Ho and burned 2 vehicles, one completely and the other partially. And we've spoken to our correspondent in the region. Residents are worried because this is some 3 days after Friday's incident. I'm grateful to have Colonel Festus Obwaje, retired, back on the line. Thank you, sir. So you were talking about the challenges the police is going to have in dealing with this.
Yeah, I was trying to explain that there is something we call counterintelligence.
Okay.
In other words, these groups are not just going to carry out activities, but they're going to ensure that they have deployed certain mechanisms to make it difficult for the authorities to detect what they are planning. And that is why probably Friday and last night, the authorities were surprised, which is what it is. So giving out the numbers is fine. On some occasions, people might be able to use the numbers. But I was trying to make the point that 2 things are happening. One is that the groups or group are having a field day, moving wherever they want to conduct their activities. The other side of the equation is that there is no security presence, so they can move freely. Now, assuming that after Friday, we had urgently deployed the military into certain localities, like municipal centers and so on, and that they had established roadblocks and checkpoints, or had been combining these roadblocks and checkpoints with patrols, for instance. This group that attacked the STC station last night might not have found it very easy. Indeed, I heard you mention, or your narrator mention, the whole market, Central Market, which was in question last Friday. So until the security presence is beefed up, they will have the freedom of movement to conduct their activities.
Colonel,
but even if you deploy, hello?
Yeah, please proceed.
Yeah, even if you deploy the military alone, it may, or security forces, as I've tried to suggest, it may not work very well or effectively. We need intelligence beefing up. That is, to try and find information that can lead us to determine that this is what the group is planning. And we can then deploy appropriate measures, to stop those things from happening.
Colonel, our discussions on Friday's incident are barely over. Then another one happens. Would you agree, in addition to the patrols and the military presence, with those who suggest that maybe we should be locking down some of these areas, a curfew or some sort of restricted movement so that we can help track and gather intelligence? Will that be far-fetched?
All of that are mechanisms that can be used. If you do the operational analysis very well and you determine the negative aspects or impact that the curfew is going to have, especially in the run-up to elections, you'll be able to say, okay, for now, let's have checkpoints, let's have patrols, let's establish communication networks, some different means. But I keep mentioning intelligence. The intelligence around marketplaces, lorry parks, drinking bars, anywhere that, some individuals can. For instance, hospitals. If anybody was injured last Friday, they're likely to go to a hospital. There must be some intelligence presence at medical facilities to find out who has come in and why, if you like, they were injured. All of these bits and pieces of information could help. And of course, our good old mobile phones. The state should have, and I believe the state has, the capacity to listen into the conversations of certain individuals. But by linking those conversations amongst some members of the group, you may also get some intelligence. So intelligence, security, the announcement calling for calm, having the presence there to ensure, not to show, a show force, but to be close to the sources of these incidents, to make it difficult for the cells. And I'm mentioning cells because what may be happening now is that they're not going to come up in very large numbers, 100 of them. They're going to come up in small groups, 5 of them here, 10 of them there. And indeed, whilst we're focusing on the whole area, we need to be looking up north into OT to make sure that it doesn't spread there. Because very soon, they're going to spread their activities into areas that are even beyond, like we saw Friday, beyond the normal boundaries of Western Togoland.
At the onset of this, sometime early this year, with the hoisting of flags and organization of press conferences, you were one of the people who spoke about not taking this group and its activities for granted. You understood the impact of those seemingly not too violent gestures and what they could mean. Now, there were some arrests. The leader of the group was picked up. We were told later that he was made to sign, some bonds, and because he's weak, and the notion was that really what could, a harmless old man be doing? And related to that also, the 31 persons who were picked up on Friday were in court yesterday, and there were some charges preferred against them. Some have said that is also weak. So from the angle of prosecution and from the angle of even dealing with the persons who have been picked up in relation to this, there seems not to be a clear signal that we're really going hard, at these people.
Well, in this kind of discourse, you could have many perspectives. You could have a perspective of some people, like yesterday on PM Express, my good friend, senior counsel Martin Pebu, advocating for leniency, a human face or humane face and that kind of stuff. Now, law is law, and violations of law is violations of law. So if there is a law which prohibits treason including even the hoisting of a flag and declaring independence within the territory of Ghana, it's a breach of the law. So the law must take its course. It doesn't mean that you're going to sentence people to death. But if you don't send out those signals or messages, and if you're going to ask people to sign bonds and to go back and be of good behavior, you are forgetting that they have high morale, they are highly motivated, they are committed to their cause, which is self-determination, secession, and independence. Now the Papavi factor. Papavi is not a full soldier. Papavi is the inspiration behind this movement. He's the old man who lived through it, what he claims were the atrocities. He is the one who has got the historical knowledge of how Western Togoland began and how it became part of Ghana, and why some of them, not him alone, some other intellectuals before him, thought that, no, we don't belong here. He has a lot to say to inspire the group. So his frailty is one thing. His strength of mind and his will may be a different thing. So we must not be confused about his frailty, walking with a walking stick to say that, but what can this old man do? This old man will not carry sandbags to put on the road. He will not carry ties to put on the road and bend them. He will not attack the STC, but he is the one who motivates the group to carry out whatever activities their structures have determined can help them to achieve their objective. Now, I would wish to suggest that all tools must be on the table. The legal tool must be used, the security tool must be used, the intelligence tool must be used, the socio-political, economic tools must be used. So we address the grievances that they have, some of which are socio-economic, some of which are human rights, some of which are political. But it doesn't mean that we neglect the others. And I also want to suggest that we should talk to them. I've been citing the example of Charles Taylor's Liberia. The ECOWAS strategy was to defeat Charles Taylor on the battlefield from August 1990 until sometime in 1995. That strategy failed or didn't work. So ECOWAS now decided to engage Charles Taylor and find a way forward that will ensure that there are free, fair elections. That was what worked. It might not have been perfect, but not to talk to your enemy. If you haven't got the nuclear bombs to wipe out that enemy, you are wasting time.
So when you say
talking to them, yes.
What exactly do you mean when you say talk? Because this is something the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council is also asking for. So how do you even go about it? Because then it will almost be like you're entertaining them, or you want to give them what they're demanding.
No, not at all. You see, we are now in the field of negotiation and mediation. We may not need to talk to them directly. We can find third parties to reach out to them, find out what their agenda is all about. But negotiation and mediation do not always and only seek to find solutions. Sometimes it's for purposes of communication. We need to understand them, the basis of, their struggle. We need to find out the legitimacy of their struggle. Whom do they represent? Then they also need to understand us as Ghana. So opening up communication channels helps us now to understand each other. What are their interests? What are our interests? What are their, let's call them issues in very broad terms. The whole range of issues they've articulated on their website, So talking to them is not a mistake. At least in our part of the world, West Africa, Africa, we talk to our opponents. And I've cited the example of Liberia. Ambazonia, in fact, in Cameroon, there are indications that the government of Cameroon, in spite of its strong-handedness or whatever, is talking to Ambazonia. The Nigerian government is talking to Boko Haram. Indeed, they have been talking to Boko Haram, but sometimes you get splits because you have this more aggressive, hawkish element that doesn't, believe in, negotiation. Mali, it is happening. They're talking to the Tuaregs who declared independence of Azawad. They probably are talking to the terrorist elements, the Akims and the Islamic State in West Africa. They probably are talking to them. But it doesn't mean when you are talking, you stop short and don't deploy your military tools. So we must combine all of these. Now, all of these things must be articulated in a national strategy. And I want to say it once again that the leader of this country, the president, the commander-in-chief, must come out and tell Ghanaians what the country knows, what it is doing, and how it is going to go about address this issue. It is not sufficient over the last few days to have a Minister of Information talking, to have a regional minister talking. We've had a MUSEC chair talking, a police superintendent talking, and you don't get a national strategy. And it's not authoritative enough. You see, we have conceded grounds to this group, and we need to reclaim that ground, especially in the public information domain. If we don't start explaining to a wide range of audiences, not only Ghanaians, the group itself, the Voltarians, the Togolese, other people in the external community, we might be making a serious mistake. Indeed, people might wish to believe them or be inclined more to believe their cause than believe in Ghana.
What about those who say that, the president, for example, commenting on this, will give them the attention that they want, probably lift this beyond Ghana, give them the international appeal that they may want to help their cause? Because there's also issues of funding, there's issues of who may want to support them to achieve what they want to achieve, and looking at the areas they've demarcated for themselves. Who knows, there may be a terrorist group that may be interested in claiming those properties and installations that are within the catchment areas that they have allocated themselves as Western Togoland. And so we may end up helping them if we put the spotlight on them.
Not at all. To the contrary. Now, catchment area is also a misconception. Friday was not a catchment area. Friday was deep inside the territory of Ghana. Now, let me use the example of the West. In terms of Al-Shabaab, not Al-Shabaab, in terms of the Mujahideen, in terms of the Afghan group, in terms of Al-Qaeda, in terms of, ISIS and so on, don't we have the presidents of the U.S. from time to time articulating what the U.S. strategy is? Whether to deploy a force to go and destroy them, or to pull out, retain, let's say, a training group, but then use drones and so on to degrade or to whatever it is. That is not conceding ground. The world needs to know how the U.S. wants to go about, combating the war that it had declared on terrorism. So Ghana needs to tell Ghanaians how it is going to combat this threat, which is a serious existential threat to the sovereignty of Ghana. I don't agree for one moment that the president coming out to talk means that we are recognizing them. Indeed, if you don't recognize them, then you are in denial. And I cannot give any better example than that of Charles Taylor. Charles Taylor was not going to go away. He was well-resourced. Indeed, yes, Gaddafi is gone. But the literature that exists shows that at some stage, Togolese liberation movement was promised support by Gaddafi. So who are these countries that are supporting this group at this time? Are they our friends? What are their interests? What are their motives and so on? The government needs to tell Ghanaians and not to take Ghanaians like Ghanaians are not sensible, they don't understand issues. You see what I mean? And I use the example of the spiritual dimension. Whether we accept it or not, there is a spiritual dimension to this conflict. If you're going to have Ghanaians put their souls behind the government and in support of the state, they must be mentally aware of what is going to happen or what is happening before their souls and their spirits can support this cause. I'm not forcing the government. I'm only suggesting that it might work well for us if we come out openly and let Ghanaians know where we are at with this threat, than this kind of cat and mouse fire brigade approach, where I'm sure by this time we have posted some security at STC, but we may pull them out maybe by day's end or something like that.
Quickly and finally, Colonel, there's also the concern about the impact of this on the elections. Already, we saw that during the voter registration exercise, the Volta region was a hotbed. And there are concerns that this could create a certain atmosphere leading up to the elections, which may in turn affect the entire nation. Just a quick comment on that as we wrap up the conversation, sir.
That is the unfortunate thing about what we call unintended consequences. Invariably, once you put security forces on the ground, there will be human rights violations, whether intended or not intended. Friday was not an exception, where it may appear that an innocent soul has been shot, let's say. So in the run-up to elections, and we have the registration exercise to guide us, once you deploy military forces, and maybe for lack of leadership, for lack of effective command and control, maybe to some extent, for some reasons of political interest, manipulating that deployment, you're going to have these troops intimidating the populace, making it impossible or unlikely for them to come out and vote. So it is one of the consequences that needs to be analyzed by the authorities. And that is why I'm suggesting that there are many ways of infesting the area with security presence. Simple checkpoints, simple roadblocks, simple patrols. Definitely vital installations now need to be commanded and controlled. Key installations, if there is a Bank of Ghana office somewhere there, it's a vital installation. The Pond Dam, for instance, is one. Any place that is likely to be targeted. And that is where the challenge is, because, look, they're looking for the PR benefit. You see, so STC now, by this time, the news is all out in the world that the group has attacked an STC. But what was the damage that they did? Very, very minimal. You see, but the impact on the perception, the psyche of Ghanaians, that we are not safe, that we can now be targeted willy-nilly by this group as and when they choose, you know. We need the strategy to be clearly defined before we articulate it. If we don't sit down and develop that coherent, comprehensive strategy, and we make it a kind of a touch and go, fire brigade, cat and mouse thing that I've tried to suggest, it's going to be a bit more difficult for us to contain this. I
appreciate your time this morning. Colonel Festus Obwaji, retired, has been sharing his thoughts with us on the recent attack by a group of persons believed to be part of a secessionist group that wants separation from Ghana. We are following this keenly.